Welcome back to Fourth and Pain, the only pro wrestling show to be hosted by an NFL player, weight loss champion, Redskins defensive end, Adam Carriker.
If Chuck and I were to get in a fight, the fact is I would whoop his candy ass. And it's real. It's damn real.
Well, you're mixing up two things, and you're all mixed up altogether, because we all know if I were to kick you in the shins, down goes Carriker.
In other words, throw a right cross.
Be sure to follow the show at Fourth and Pain and join us each and every weekday, high noon Eastern, fourthandpain.com. Adam, we're going to blur the lines a little bit with this segment. Pro wrestling versus real-life toughness. Who's going to win in a real fight? You know, because I thought that it would be interesting. One of the things that you and I have been talking about this week was this feud supposedly behind the scenes between the Ultimate Warrior and Kevin Nash. And so that kind of got me to thinking, well, you know, Nash, he's probably got the height, but Warrior was a bodybuilder. You know, who's going to win in this tough guy contest, you know?
So, well, I brought this up to you, and what happened was before 2 WrestleManias ago, so about a year and a half ago now at this point, Nash and Warriors rubbed some people the wrong way throughout his time in WWE, and they were going back and forth on Twitter. And basically, Kevin Nash challenged him to an MMA 3-round fight in the arena there in Miami before the WrestleMania. So it's going to be the day before that WrestleMania there in Miami a couple years ago. And each guy puts up $50,000, and the winner gets $100,000. And so that's where this kind of spurred from. And as far as who would win, I mean, for me, Ultimate Warrior's a little bit older. I know he was a bodybuilder. I know he's in great shape. I know he still works out to this day. But I think he's got Nash by about 10 years. I think Nash is a little bit bigger. I think Nash is Nash kind of reputation for being kind of a mean, nasty guy. I'd have to give the edge to Kevin Nash.
Well, you say Nash has a reputation for being a kind of a nasty kind of a guy. Well, let's remember that the Ultimate Warrior doesn't exactly have the most pristine reputation among the pro wrestling circles, you know, but I think, you know, Warrior, he strikes me as being probably stronger than Nash, and so that kind of makes me question. But then I think back to the early days of UFC where, you know, you got a little guy like Ken Shamrock or Hoist Gracie going in there and just tearing things up against guys that are 600 or 700 pounds. You know, meanwhile, over in TNA, you know, Quentin Rampage Jackson, he just makes his debut. Kurt Angle's in there. That's another one you got to look at. Like Kurt Angle, the legit Olympic gold medalist, versus Rampage Jackson, the legit MMA guy. You know, whose style is going to reign supreme here?
Well, hold on. Did you give an answer on Warrior versus Nash? Who would you take, Warrior versus Nash?
I'm going with Nash because of the age reason, but I think that if they were identical in age, the edge would go to Warrior. I honestly believe that strength would overpower. Plus, I think that Nash is a lot more bark than bite. That's my suspicion. I could be wrong, but that's my suspicion.
All right, when it comes to Angle versus Rampage Jackson, I think it would be very even. I think MMA guys have a slight advantage over wrestlers because they not only know how to grapple, they know how to strike really well, which is why Lesnar lost his first fight. If you remember, he was kicking the crap out that dude, and then the guy caught him. And once he learned how to strike, he could win. But to me, Kurt Angle is the greatest shoot wrestler of all time. That's what he was voted as. Olympic gold medal winner, won it with a broken neck. I think he'd be so much better at grappling, even though he probably isn't near as good at striking, that he would get the edge and he'd get him in some sort of submission lock. And I think that's how he would beat him. But I think this would be very interesting to watch.
Well, you know, I'm going to give the edge, again, based on the age, to Rampage Jackson. I know Angle's been dinged up as of late. But, you know, historically, again, if we're just kind of...
I'm talking about in their primes. In their primes, who would win?
Head-to-head in the prime?
In their primes.
Kurt Angle all day. Kurt Angle all day. Because Rampage Jackson was a little bit overrated in MMA circles, in my humble opinion.
Who would win right now, then? Today, who would win
Rampage
right now?
Jackson, based on the age. Based on age.
I got Angle either way. It don't matter to me.
But then, you know, you look at backstage feuds. I mean, I think that Chris Jericho got into it with our buddy Goldberg at one point. Kevin Nash also running at it with Samoa Joe. I mean, a lot of these guys go head-to-head all the time backstage, and it always just gets played out in the squared circle. So you never really know who's going to win. But I think that it could be fun then at some point if we didn't do a tournament to figure out who indeed was the toughest guy in pro wrestling.
I think we will do that tournament. It should be noted that Jericho actually caught Goldberg in a chicken wing, and actually my guy wearing his shirt right now, favorite wrestler, actually won that because he caught him in a chicken wing. And then Nash, in his words on an online interview, taught Samoa Joe a lesson.